shillings. He pays the money and there is an outcry. He is still in jail today. We'll be discussing that. Police announces with the Inter-Parliamentary Union meeting in Kampala, which just announced this afternoon that they are suspending Mali from the Union, announces that no demonstrations in Kampala. If anybody wants a demonstration, they should go to Kololo. They don't need to seek permission to be able to demonstrate in Kampala. But what does that say about democracy in the country, even as you host democratic institutions, which are parliaments around here? And we'll continue the discussion of tribe in the context of Uganda at 50 years. Let me introduce the team in the studio, starting with a guest. Rodney Muhumuza works for the Associated Press in Kampala. Rodney, very nice to have you on the hot seat.
Thank you, Charles.
John Gatsunas is an international correspondent working for the Washington Times and other publications, also based in Kampala. John, very nice to have you on the hot seat.
Good evening.
Onapito Ekomloit, veteran journalist, communications director of SAB Miller Nile Breweries.
What have you been drinking?
I don't know. Maybe some Nile Gold.
You better drink Nile Gold.
Maybe I've been drinking some Nile Gold.
Teachless. Gives you a headache though.
Onapito Ekomloit. And Nicholas Sengora. He doesn't need further introduction. We're missing Chris, of course. Left the office, wasn't feeling very well, and and Timothy Kaligira, who's missing in the studio. Let's start with your quick thoughts, Nicholas, on Emin Baro, 53 years. I went to his Facebook page and found rather disturbing pictures, and was upset that NGOs who claim their job is to work for children's rights were seriously absent in the first few days of Emin Baro's arrest.
First and foremost, it is not the duty of only NGOs to fight for the rights of children. You're a parent too. It's very important that you're concerned about children. I always see this thing, you know, a woman say dies because she hasn't received attention in the hospital. They say, women's organization, you should, you know, have concern for every matter that blights society. But having said that, one of the problems in this country now with this open door kind of policy where we need investors, we need you know, also
tourists.
Yeah, while other countries where this brother of mine comes from, you know, are tightening on immigration because of security issues and economic issues, we in Africa unfortunately have that problem. We are attracting everybody. We don't seem to segregate, you know, because of the desperate situation in which we are. That is how the bad eggs come in. And secondly, they seem to have the leeway and freedom here because of the situation in these countries of ours. There was a feature on BBC where a girl was being forced by her family to go in these sort of things, you know, because the white man involved was giving some money and they were desperate for the money. So I don't know whether we have got the full story. These girls were posing. What was he giving them? Was it
he was paying between 2,000 shillings to 10,000 shillings from what we had?
Yeah, but for the amount of time that he has been doing it all these years and for the period, has there been some complicity? You must ask yourself. So what are the social pressures behind most of the... You have to ask this thing. And secondly, when he goes, like, say if there's a wild cat, and in quotes, I mean, someone reports to the police, is the police compromised along the way? Because some of these policemen are in such bad condition. Whenever I go to many of these places where they have been stationed to search, you know, some of them have, is it counterterrorism? When he opens your door, he says, do you have a cigarette for me? Do you have, you know? So all those, then you have the problem of the judicial system itself. I mean, the magistrate here, if the media had not really come out so forcefully, this man was going to walk, you know? So these are the issues that we really have to to look at and focus our minds on. Otherwise, we are going to have many. In this country, we still this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many people who are there are so many instances of orgies and many of these things which I mean, my brother there might have heard of them in his country. They are new and alien to us. All these things which people are coming here to, they look at us as backward people when we talk about men sleeping with men. But these are the things that come with the pressures that have forced us to open our doors to all sorts of cultures. And
okay, I'll respond to one thing. You said every Ugandan, I think for the media and the discussion on social platforms and other things, some sections of the Ugandan public vindicated themselves by crying out on this issue. But if you are dedicated and you say your job is to fight for something, then you had better be on the front line. Yeah. Honor. A few years ago, we had a man called Hornsleth. He established Hornsleth villages and was giving a piglet for you to adopt his name. So you'd find a Mwangusha Hornsleth Impagi.
As a work of art.
As a work of art. Now you have this man who's been living around for 6 years. Nobody knows what exactly he does.
Look, I think the issue of sexual perversion is a very worrying issue, especially for us who are parents and have our innocent kids. The kind of things some crazy and sincerely mad people can do to children, or even perhaps some adults. In this case, of course, the only sad bit is that those who are charged with the responsibility to punish this guy somehow went to sleep or were not bothered. I think one of the most logical things would have been to deport him, because there are countries where these things seem to be tolerated. Let him go there. I mean, he should have been deported, or even keeping in Luzera might not. I mean, something harsher needs to be done, because the guy is not repentant. He seems think this is normal, so maybe they should keep him away from the normal society. Traditionally, some of these perversions were punished in very interesting ways. They would strip you naked, put you in some kind of hut, and set it on fire. If you committed some abomination, either incest or something, they would set the hut on fire. If you are lucky to escape, that is it. But society recognizes that you needed to be cleansed. Perhaps your whole life should be cleansed and your spirit is set free.
Your clan is actually cleansed.
Yes. So of you. Yes, so I think this definitely deserves harsh punishment. To take advantage of young kids is totally unacceptable.
John,
yeah.
I imagine this is the story you must have been following.
It has been. I was rather conflicted on whether to file a story on the matter. In the end, I decided not to. I thought it would be morally irresponsible, in that law enforcement here is very weak, and there are pedophiles all around the world. And the last thing I wanted to let the world know is that that's the case. I think it would just invite more pedophiles to come here. Clearly something does need to be done.
What is the counter effect of your remaining silent on this?
I don't think the international audience needs to know, but let me specify, I don't think pedophiles in the international audience need to know about a country or a region where pedophilia is rife. I just don't. I think that this country needs to get its house in order in terms of law enforcement to prevent recurrences of this kind of horrible act. And so I just didn't want to draw attention to the porousness of borders here. I do think we have to be careful, though, not to let this instance turn into a matter of xenophobia. We did have some MPs who responded by saying we need to keep background checks and start scrutinizing the foreigners who come into this country more closely. The fact is, pedophilia, as unethical as it is occurs here among locals, and it occurs among members of the international community. Pedophiles will always look for places where they can get away with these kind of abusive acts, and clearly this man found Uganda to be a wonderful place for him to exploit innocent children. So we need to be careful about that. I would also say that indirectly this does touch on the homosexuality issue. A lot of the firebrands in this country those who are bigots against homosexuals have tried to point out that homosexuals are more inclined to abuse children. And this case just drives the point home that pedophilia does not discriminate against homosexuals or heterosexuals.
Rodney, you also write for an international publication. Is this a story your publication was interested in?
Frankly, I didn't do a story on it, but privately I was outraged. I think it's a disgrace to a country that someone, I don't care if he's Turkish or Ugandan, but how did it come to be that a man abused not one, not two, but 50 girls?
Or more?
Yeah, so the police are out there congratulating themselves that we caught the guy, but I keep wondering, why didn't you catch him much earlier, much sooner? So I think it's a very sad story, and I think the people of this country are right to be outraged. I've been seeing the buzz on Twitter and Facebook. It's deserved. I think it's called for, and I'm glad he's been arrested again and he's going to be charged again. I think we need to have laws in this country that are, in fact, a deterrent against serious crimes. I mean, they were charging him with an offence that should have been something else. You've got
computer abuse.